Hey guys, my name is Basimio, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming or Battlefield-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. The first question for today is, what do you think if Tank's IR smoke had a flash effect on close infantry? It would be a way to push back C4 users. I really like where your head is going on this one, because in my opinion, and I think a lot of you would agree with me, the IR smokes are just flat out inferior to active protection. And while I don't necessarily think that if they added a flash effect to this customization slot that everyone would all of a sudden gravitate towards it. Like, I know that that wouldn't happen, but it would at least be a step in the right direction to making these other customization slots at least somewhat more viable compared to active protection. If you come across another main battle tank who is using the IR flares, I don't want to necessarily say that it's a guaranteed kill, but they're going to have some very fancy footworking and really just the accuracy of a god. Like, they cannot miss if they want to come out of that tank battle alive. If it's just a straight up fight, both tanks are out in the open and they both don't miss, well, the guy with the active protection is always gonna come out of it alive. Like, there's never a situation where he's gonna win. Like, if they fire at the same time, one is gonna be able to block a shot, the other one isn't, and so they're gonna be a fireball. Like, that's the end result, and that's really why everyone uses this customization option. Like, active protection, when you really get down to it, the simple fact that it can basically shield you from any damage source for about 5 seconds is a massive advantage. And so really the only way that I can see them increasing the power of the IR smokes is either just decrease the cooldown of it so they pop more frequently, but also increase the power of the lock-on rockets like the guided missiles, the javelins, and a lock-on SRA. That way you have something that pops more often, you can activate it more frequently, but also when more people gravitate on over towards these lock-on missiles because they simply do more damage and they're more effective now, you have a customization slot that is better suited to take care of those situations. That's really the only way that I can see it being more viable. The downside to this system, though, is that we open up a huge can of worms because now everyone's running with lock-on rockets, and I don't know if that is a vision of Battlefield that I want to be a part of. I like the dynamic of having RPGs and SMOS flying all over the place, because not only does it require more skill on the part of the player who is using it because they need to line up the shot and predict where the tank is going to be, but it also allows for the tank driver to adapt to the situation and dodge out of the way as long as they're somewhat competent. That's a really good dynamic. As soon as we increase the power of the lock-on missiles to elevate the power of the IR smokes to make them more viable, I don't want to necessarily say that all skill would be removed from the game when it comes to taking out tanks, but I don't know about you, but I hate getting locked on by missiles. I feel like it takes away that really cool dynamic that we just talked about, and just simply less skill is involved. And so I'd like to get your guys' take on it. Personally, I like the way that things are right now, but at the same time, it really irritates me that there is only like one option when you are playing in these vehicles, or you have just these cookie cutter loadouts because all of the other customization is completely useless. And so do you think that something needs to be done to elevate the power of the IR smokes to make it more in line with the active protection, or should things stay exactly the same because you can't really think of any other way unless you wanted to just flat out nerf active protection or change really the entire dynamic of the game? Let me know down below. The next question for today comes from Devin, and it is, what are your thoughts on H1Z1 being paid to win? This is such a shame because I am really enjoying H1Z1 right now, but the way that they've gone about their payment policy is just a hot mess. If you're not aware of the controversy, to catch you up a little bit, H1Z1 is the new survivor horror MMO game from SOE, and when it launches, it's going to be a free-to-play game. And being free-to-play, one of the large worries that a lot of gamers have is that there is going to be a pay-to-win element. SOE, over the last couple of months, has been shouting from the rooftops, claiming that that is going to be a non-issue in H1Z1. There is never going to be a way for you to buy power directly. You'll never be able to buy a weapon from a vending machine, you'll never be able to buy ammo and things like that, and the only way that you can spend your real-world money is on cosmetic upgrades, so having a cool hat or a t-shirt and things along those lines. Little did we know, though, that this policy wasn't 100% true. They have an airdrop system, which by itself doesn't really sound all that bad. A plane will fly on over, it will drop a crate down on the ground, and there'll be some nice goodies in there. There'll be ammo, weapons, there can be food, fertilizer, all of these really cool resources. But the twist on it is that the only way to call one of these things in is with real world money. Pretty much just contradicts everything that they just talked about. Like, this is buying power. No matter how you twist it, it is buying power and influence in the game. And I know that they've been saying, well, you aren't guaranteed to pick up the loot in it because it drops. And anyone that comes across the drop zone, kills all the zombies that are around it and picks up the loot, it goes to them. So even though you spent the $5 to call in the airdrop, you aren't guaranteed to get those resources or that awesome new assault rifle. But even still, no matter how you spin it, this is exactly pay to win. And so rightfully so, a lot of people were upset. They felt like they were lied to. And so my take on it is that while I have no real problem with the airdrop system, why not just make it a random thing that happens in the game? Or maybe make it player driven, where if you come across a radio beacon or something like that, you can activate it, call in the airdrop, and it can have this really cool dynamic. The reason why SOE likes this system is that it congregates people together, it gets people to fight over these valuable resources, and it's sort of an endgame type of policy, where people are scavenging around, they see the airdrop come on in, and then they have to weigh the pros and cons of, hey, maybe I could get lucky, no one will be around the airdrop, I'll get all of this really cool loot, but at the same time they run the risk of, well, running into about 1 million different other players and dying instantaneously. And so I guess my issue with this entire policy is that if these airdrops are important as SOE is making them out to be, then why do they need to be activated with real world money? Why are you creating a very important part of your game to only be driven by people spending more and more money to experience that content? I realize that SOE needs to make money, they need to put food on the table, but if this is going to be such an integral part of the game, the fact that it is behind a paywall rubs me the wrong way. And so I guess my stance on it is that I'm really enjoying H1Z1. I'm really liking the game, especially since they've been patching it. They've been patching it like mad, and the patches that have gone through have vastly improved the game since day one. But even still, I think that there is a lot of room for improvement, and while I don't think that the drop ships are going to completely ruin the game for me, like I said, they rub me the wrong way, and I think that there would be a better way of handling the situation overall. The next question for today comes from Tom, and it is, since there is air superiority, what do you think of a game mode for just tanks and LAVs? I think that this will be a fun game mode and more Battlefield players can get to know these vehicles. Well, I don't know if you remember this or even played Battlefield 3, but with the Armored Kill DLC, we had exactly this with tank superiority, but it was awful. The problem with the game mode is that while I don't think that all-out tank combat can't work in Battlefield, actually I think it would be flat-out amazing, but the issue with tank superiority in Battlefield 3, and I think the reason why they never brought it into Battlefield 4, is that it was just terribly designed. There was one capture point in the middle of the map, and it was all out in the open. There was no way that you and yourself, or even a couple of teammates that were working together, had any chance of pushing onto that objective, because as soon as you tried to move out from cover and actually play the objective, 1 million different tanks from 5,000 different angles would fire upon you, and you would pretty much die instantaneously. It was just poorly designed. The fact that there was only one capture point, it was all out in the open, and there really wasn't any cover, really detracted from the experience. And so in my eyes, the best way of handling it, this is gonna sound very obvious, is just to have a normal conquest map with all of those capture points, but have everyone in a tank and an LAV. You still have all that great playing the objective style of gameplay that you would have in normal conquest, but the only twist on it is that everyone isn't playing on the ground as an infantry unit, they're all in these awesome, powerful vehicles. That sounds amazing. Like, Giants of Karelia and everyone in a main battle tank or an LAV would be flat out amazing. You may have to adjust some of the capture points here and there so that it makes sense for the map that you're playing on, but why not have that type of dynamic in Battlefield 4? Like, I would play that game mode. I think a lot of people would play that game mode. And so, yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think that as long as DICE implemented a game mode like this appropriately, basically just making it conquest with vehicles or everyone in a tank, it would be an awesome addition into the game. The next question for today comes from James, and it is, some Operation Locker only servers disable the use of explosives and shotguns, and after the medic bag has been nerfed, they don't even allow players to use light machine guns. Do you think that such servers are breaking the weapon balance, or are they enhancing the weapon balance on this specific map? I would say that they're pretty much taking things in their own hands, and actually, yeah, I think that they are trying to balance out Operation Locker, and especially something like Operation Metro. I mean, this is the reason why you have no explosive Metro and Locker, because if you allow those explosive devices to be used, it turns into just this terrible experience where your screen is shaking all the time, and there's no way for you to even play the objective, no way for you to enjoy a first-person shooter, the shooting aspect of it, because everyone is just tossing grenades and M320s all over the place. I think what it really just comes down to is that the maps just really are not well designed for having 64 players on them. If you bring it down to like 32 or even down to like to 24, they're amazing maps. You can flank around, you can have all these awesome firefights, you can play the objective, but because they really did not design either of them around 64 people, you kind of have to take things into your own hands. You have to balance the weapons or the dynamic of the map from the server settings to really get that gameplay that you are looking for. And while it can definitely be annoying to join a server where you didn't realize that they had these outlandish rule sets, I personally hate the ones where they kill you if you have a certain thing equipped. Like if you have C4, they automatically kill you. I think those servers push things a little bit too far, but even still, the fact that they're full, people are playing on them, I think speaks volumes for the balance of the maps overall, because clearly there's an issue here if this amount of people are joining a server that has these rule sets. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. Once again, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.